What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Ran When Parked YouTube channel. Now, you haven't seen a new video from me in a few weeks because I've been really busy with my day job. But today, we are back with a vengeance. We're going to make some real progress on Jordy the 40. And I think I mentioned in the last video that the next step forward after we ran it last time is to get it driving. The reason why I want to get it driving is just to test, the power steering pump, transfer case, differentials, brakes, etc., etc. Just make sure everything's up to par before we move forward with this project. So today, I'm going to see how much I can get done in this video. So we're just going to go and go and go until we've reached some sort of time limit here. But the place we're going to start is with power steering. So I think I showed you guys before, I already converted this to power steering to use a pre-1983 GM Saginaw pump. I did all the frame modifications and everything to make that work. This is a great system. It's really common. The problem with it is usually making a steering shaft to actually make it work because the distance here in the frame, so you got to kind of sink it back into the frame, which is what I did here. The other problem is lines and things. So we have everything we need. We have adapters to the LS pump. We have adapters for the Saginaw box. We have our power steering hose. We have a new Borgeson U-joint. We have the remainder of the original steering shaft here, which I'm going to use and modify with the Borgeson joint to hook up to the column here. And that is where we're going to start today. Now, our first major hurdle is these FJ40s used to have a rag joint. I already went ahead and cut the rag joint off the bottom of the steering column. And what they had here was like a foam bushing that went in and kept the steering column centered inside the shaft. That is obviously worn out and gone. It looks like it's been gone for a long time. And I would probably replace that with like a Delrin bushing or something. We'd probably turn out on the lathe, but I have a little problem. So this is a straight 3/4 inch shaft. This is a straight 3/4 inch Borgeson U-joint, which is going to go on there. I'm gonna have to clean it up to get it on there. But once I put it on there, I'll probably weld it just for security's sake. And once I do that, you'll never be able to replace that bushing again. So what I did was I found a sealed ball bearing that is 3/4 inner diameter, 1 5/16 outer diameter, which will fit that and the shaft. So first things first, we're going to clean this whole thing up. We're going to get that bushing in there, or that bearing in there, and then that'll be good for the rest of its life, so I'll never have to worry about actually taking it apart again. So we're going to do that, make the shaft, we're going to make the lines, we're going to hook everything up, we're going to test the power steering, then we're going to move on to some other things, like finalizing the fuel system. So my new gas tank did come in. I got it sitting in here, so we'll plumb that up and get that all sorted out correctly. And then once we're done with both of those things, if we have more time in today's episode, I'm going to start building a transmission tunnel. That's going to take some significant work. So if we want to get there, we might as well get started. So let's get going on power steering. All right, guys, so we got our spud shaft on here, which just extends the Saginaw box out so it gets through the frame a little bit. That's clamped. And then we got our lower U-joint on here. We have the existing shaft coming up. We have our steering column installed with our bearing here. And then we have our new U-joint on that shaft. So that's going to come in essentially just like that. It is very, very tight to the header, but it does fit. So I guess the next thing we really have to do is cut this thing down. So I'll cut like probably 1 inch off of it. And then it should slide right together. And then we got to decide how we're going to connect this thing. So this is a straight 3/4 inch connector. So there is no way to actually attach it. So I have a couple options here. 1, I can bore through the whole thing and bolt it. 2, I can weld it. Probably I don't want to weld it. More than likely I want to drill through the whole thing and bolt it. But once we get it on there, then we'll cross that bridge. So let's chop this thing off and get this thing put together and make sure it all fits right before we go any further. All right, so that is all set. We got everything hooked up down here. Obviously, what I ended up doing was I just drilled through and put a 1/4-inch bolt through. I think that's probably the best way to do it. What I'll probably do is spot weld it too, just for security's sake, make me feel a little bit better about this whole thing. But that way, if it's 2 spot welds, then I can just cut them off and remove it if I really need to. So that's all set. We have a steering shaft. We even have some pretty good clearance here, which I'm surprised about. Now, the next thing we have to do is make some lines for the Saginaw pump to the LS pump, or Saginaw box to the LS pump. So we got to pull this old line off of here, and then the return line piece we're going to keep, and then I guess I got to get down in there. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I might have to actually take the pump off to get the adapter in, and then we'll make our custom lines to our adapters here. It's all going to be 6AN. Then we'll be about done with power steering stuff, so let's start doing that. All right, guys, so power steering done. We got our pressure side, we got our return side. They're routed pretty nice. I got to put some like hose clamps in there just to hold them to the frame and away from the steering shaft. But everything is right in the world. Hooked up back there, everything else is out of the way. We're all set. Now, I also put the fuel tank in correctly, so it sits right there. I don't have the tank straps that go over the top, but that's all it's really missing. And the reason why I got this is because the next thing I want to do is build the trans tunnel. And there was a couple things I needed before I built the trans tunnel. And that was, one of them was the gas tank, because it's really, really close down here. So I needed it to get the shape right for where the trans tunnel has to go. And the second thing is the heater box, which bolts up right there. But I don't remember how low it goes. Now, I think I have a heater box. And that's going to be important, because if I want to drive this thing, I need the shifter. If I need a shifter, I need a trans tunnel to mount the shifter. So how high is that shifter going to go? I'm not really sure. Depends on how high the trans tunnel can go. And that's going to depend on this. It's going to depend on the heater box. So let's take a quick field trip and see if I have a heater box. All right, so headed back to the Ranwen Park junkyard here. Hashtag Ranwen Park, yo. And here's the FJ40 you guys probably remember. I pulled out of the sheep pasture. It's seen better days. And I have a heater box. Awesome. And it looks pretty good, actually. It just needs to be painted and stuff. So 2 bolts over there. And looks like 1 bolt over there. Got to clip a couple hoses, a couple of cables, and it'll come right out of there. So let's see if we can pull this thing out. All right, guys. So I got the heater box out. It looks to be in halfway decent shape. Obviously, a mouse had a field day in here, so I got to clean it out a little bit, but it doesn't look bad. It's not all rotted out, so I can definitely save it. And for the sake of what we're doing here, just trying to mock it up on the wall and, you know, get a trans tunnel built. It's perfect. However, right when I got it out, I realized I might not need it. And the reason why is that I started digging out the truck and I got the whole trans tunnel out. So this is the original trans tunnel out of that truck out back when I got out of the sheep pasture. And it's pretty beat. It's all rotted out back here. But the front of it up front here is not bad. So what I'm thinking about doing is it doesn't quite fit the fiberglass floor. Like it doesn't, fiberglass has some weird contours here, this tub that obviously the factory one didn't have. Or maybe it had that contour because it's here, but it's a little different. So I'm thinking about cutting all the rust out of it. Everything over there and everything around the back, but keeping the front because the front fits up against the firewall really, really well. It's actually about as perfect as you could possibly want it to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this thing all the way along and cut the whole flange part off of it all the way around the other side, and at the same time get rid of any rust in it, and then it should sit pretty flat. And then what we can do is set this height so it's at the exact same level that it was before for center consoles and things like that. And then we'll just build a new flange off this thing to fit the fiberglass tub. And then that's probably the easiest and also best way to build this trans tunnel. It'll be really strong and provide a lot of support, and it'll also fit really well up front, which is what I want. So I'm going to start cutting this thing apart and see what we come up with. All right, so we got a bunch of 1.5 inch strip cut out of 12 gauge sheet. So now what we do is we just lay it down all along here. Obviously I'll have to cut, you know, mitered ends on it, angled ends to make it work. But now we essentially just lay this whole thing out and then tack it together all the way from here down and around and over to the other side. So like pieces like this, I'm gonna try to do in one piece and bend it all the way over and get it formed appropriately. So we'll start working on that now and see if we can get this thing tacked together. All right, guys, so we got our whole flange mocked up here. Everything works pretty much the way I wanted it. The bends are all really nice. It fits super tight around everything. Now, down here, there was a big hole in the floor. I have no idea what it was for, but it doesn't have to be there. You can kind of see the edge of it right there, which is why I bumped out right here. So what I'll probably do is like slice the trans tunnel right there and at the top, and I'll just weld this panel in and it'll get a little bit wider, but that's okay. Widen up the flange a little stronger, so that's all right. Over here, about the same thing. It fits a little better, which is nice because it's on the driver's side. So as far as pedal clearance and things, I have all the room in the world, so that should be fine. Now, that's about all I have for you today because I'm pretty much out of sheet metal, so I can't really finish this thing right now. But we made some progress, right? Got the whole power steering system done, made a steering shaft, made the flange for the trans tunnel. So next, I'm going to finish the trans tunnel. We will get a shifter. We'll get that in there, get the cable on there, set up the trans. Along with that will come the cooling system because I have the trans cooler in the radiator anyway. So we'll get those things done in the next episode, and we'll be about ready to probably start driving this thing. Brakes, seats, and some other little things, pedals. That should be about it. So in the meantime, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment, like the video, and I'll see you guys next time on Ranwood Parked.